It's just such a simplistic view. It doesn't tell us what young people do online. You could be spending an hour looking at some really cool videos, learning a lot, connecting with friends, or you could be spending the same hour looking at some deep, dark content and sort of keep spiraling down. And we just put it all together and unsurprisingly finding anything meaningful.
These five elements that we've identified in terms of different sorts of activity, the risky content, risky interactions, social comparison, and then a couple of more positive ones around leisure and social interactions. Yeah, we started to go further than just saying screen time isn't a good index, to actually start to break it down and come up with something useful. I think the other thing that screen time misses, it really misses the psychological response to the content. We're trying to also look at how it makes you feel, both in terms of how you judge yourself. Does it make you feel more or less attractive, more or less intelligent? The emotions that rise in terms of like being stressed, being happy. And you need to look at the psychological consequences of this stuff as well. And that's what we try and do in DIORA. Social comparison is something that is so central to being a human being. We do it all the time, online and offline. These beautiful people, intelligent people who've done this amazing stuff, and you're there, you're just a normal person, and you're struggling to get things going, can really drive people down into depression and anxiety.
I think there is also something very specific about social comparisons online, is because, especially with social media, we just see that highlight of someone's life. We see a very manicured reel, and we may think, well, actually my life is so boring, so mundane, so awful, and that's how it potentially could lead to further negative thoughts the person might have about themselves. And the other aspect of it is, as Edmund said, social comparisons have been around for, we've always been doing it. But I don't think young people recognize it and are aware of this, at least not the young people we spoke to. They said, it's not something I'm conscious of. I now recognize I do it, but
That's
not until you've just said so. And definitely not when I was younger.
So even just bringing to attention how ubiquitous social comparison is, and people doing it all day, every day, and also just highlighting the potential dangers of it could be an intervention to start with. If there's something you love doing, like running, like you said, and so I love dancing. I like to watch people dancing on YouTube and that, but I don't feel threatened by it. But and that's because of the context of it. I like to learn from it. I'm impressed, and I think, wow, that's amazing. Providing that context of meaning may be a way to help. And the background. So this didn't just come out of thin air. This came out of like 30 years of practice. Do you see what I mean? So giving a sense that people's achievements aren't just the fact that you're beautiful, intelligent, and et cetera. There's a lot of context in terms of how people get to those places.
They're comparing themselves to someone who is an influencer or a celebrity. Are they comparing themselves to someone who is like them? More crucially, not just the nature of these comparisons, but how they sort of make us think about ourselves and feel about what we are, who we are.
Most kids are actually aware of the harm, at least the perceived harm, and are trying to do something about it. We kind of assume that they're just being done too, that they're kind of passive, but they're actually active, engaged in trying to manage these risks. They understand the challenges that they face and the difficulties digital creates for them and the risks, and they're trying to do something about it.
Involving young people right from the start. They know this environment really well. I think in terms of social media functionalities. And as Edmund said, they are very much aware of the potential risks. And they have a lot of agency in already managing these risks, including functionalities of these platforms. Well, at least some of young people do. How successful they are, we don't know yet. But I think we can help, we can build on this.